Game of Thrones Season 6 Episode 1 just came out, and some pretty crazy stuff happens, so let's get into it. We begin at the Wall, with Jon dead in the snow. Davos and Ghost and some loyal Night's Watchmen are in conflict with Alyssa Thorne, who seems to be taking over the Watch after Jon's death. Ed goes to get the wildlings, who probably won't be too happy when they hear what happened to Jon. Melisandre comes and says she foresaw Jon fighting at Winterfell, and, well, so have we. That's probably him there in the trailer. There's heaps of evidence in the books and the show that Jon will be back.
He always comes back.
The only questions are how and when and what he'll be like when he rises. But in the meantime, conflict is brewing with Watchmen and Wildlings and Davos. In Winterfell, Ramsay is also mourning his dead in his own special way.
Feed it to the hounds.
Ramsay's dad Roose reminds him that Sansa is the Boltons' best hope of controlling the North, and also that if Walder has a son, that son would inherit Winterfell ahead of the bastard Ramsay, so some people think that Ramsay might end up killing Walder and Roose this season. Meanwhile, Theon and Sansa are hunted by Boltons. Theon bravely risks his life to try to protect her, which could hint at the beginning of a redemption for him, but the Boltons are closing in, then Brienne and Pod appear to save the day and carve up the Boltons. Sansa finally accepts Brienne's service and protection, which is a beautiful moment for Brienne, mirroring her pledges to Renly and Catelyn. Hopefully she'll have better luck keeping Sansa alive. In King's Landing, Cersei is still reeling from her walk of shame, and she's crushed even further when she finds out her daughter Myrcella is dead. She talks about the prophecy of Maggie the Frog, who said that Cersei's kids would die. It's interesting that the show hasn't mentioned the other part of Maggie's prophecy, that Cersei will be killed by her Valonqua, or little brother, which she thinks means Tyrion, but some readers think means Jaime. In any case, Jaime says fuck prophecy, fuck everyone else, we will take everything back, which will probably put him at odds with the Faith. Here we see the High Sparrow and Septa Unella playing good cop bad cop with Margaery Tyrell, who is still imprisoned along with her brother Loras. Cersei is not exactly the biggest fan of the Tyrells, so it'll be interesting to see how much the Lannisters and the Tyrells join forces to face the Faith. Down in Dorne, Ellaria and Tyene suddenly kill Doran and Areo, and Obara and Nymeria kill Trystane in King's Landing, and this is pretty crazy. Because the motivation of the Sand Snakes is that they want to start a war against the Lannisters, because the Lannisters, or rather the Mountain, killed their father Oberyn, and earlier their aunt Elia. Doran tries to prevent war, and that seems to be why Ellaria kills him. But isn't it kind of crazy to kill Oberyn's family so that you can avenge Oberyn? Further, Ellaria and the Sand Snakes are all bastards with no rightful claim over Dorne. Will they even be able to take control? Many book readers don't like this change, but maybe the show's just cutting to the chase, getting to the point, which is probably that Dorne will war against the Lannisters and probably end up supporting the Targaryens. That'll be Daenerys in the show, but maybe Aegon in the books. Also, it's cool to see Obara and Nymeria in King's Landing. Might be they'll get in on the conflict, maybe they'll kill Tommen, as Nym threatens in the books. It might also make sense for them to go after Robert Strong, the reanimated Mountain, because after all, he's the guy who killed Oberyn and Elia. In Meereen, Varys and Tyrion rock some sweet capes, talk about the rising political tension and the threat of the Sons of the Harpy, and all this doom and gloom looks to put Tyrion in a good mood. He's really starting to shake off his earlier depression. He's getting back into the game, so it'll be great to watch what he and Varys can accomplish together. They pass a red priest preaching about Daenerys being Azor Ahai, which is cool, and might foreshadow the arrival of the priestess Kinvara sometime later. It's also interesting that the priest wears the same hexagonal pattern we see on Melisandre and Quaithe, maybe meaning this guy's from Asshai. Finally, we see Dany's fleet burning in Slaver's Bay, and Tyrion's all like, looks like we won't be sailing to Westeros, but wouldn't it be convenient if we knew some friendly Vikings who could bring Dany some ships? Meanwhile, Jorah and Dario search for Dany in the Dothraki Sea. They have a bit of banter to stoke their rivalry. We see that Jorah's grayscale is getting pretty gnarly, and Dany's on the road to Vaes Dothrak, the Dothraki city. Dany suffers the whips and harassment of her captors and keeps her cards close to her chest, only revealing that she can speak Dothraki when she's brought before Khal Morro. For a moment things look like they might turn around, but then Dany finds out that she's expected to join the Dosh Khaleen, the widows of dead Khals who live out their days in Vaes Dothrak, which is probably not what Dany has in mind. But in the books, Quaithe tells Dany that to go forward she must go back, so this return to the Dothraki could be crucial in Dany's arc moving forwards. She won't want to hang around the Dothraki forever though, so wouldn't it be convenient if we knew a friendly dragon who could fly in to spirit her away? In Braavos, Arya is still blind and is begging on the streets. You can briefly hear someone saying,
That's what happened to that Kingsguard.
which is a reference to Arya's murder of Meryn Trant last season, which is cool. But anyway, the waif turns up and proceeds to beat the absolute shit out of Arya, which is meant to train her to use all her senses, though in real life that kind of beating would give you a fractured skull before Daredevil vision, but regardless, this suffering will probably make Arya stronger. Even so, there might come a day when Arya's had enough of the waif's shit, so we may soon see real conflict between the two. One little thing in the books is that Arya gets around being blind by warging into a cat, entering into its consciousness and seeing through its eyes, like Bran does with Summer. Hopefully they'll include that in the show. And then, back at the wall, Melisandre reveals her true form as a very, very old woman, which actually makes a lot of sense. It's hinted in the show and the books that Mel is older than she seems, that she's hiding her true appearance with a kind of magic called a glamour. The glamour seems to work using this ruby at her neck, though she has been seen without it before without looking old, so maybe that's a continuity error, maybe the magic works some other way, but the real point here is that Melisandre's nakedness shows where she's at as a character right now. Remember when we first met her, when she seemed so powerful and beautiful and certain, but all her hopes and beliefs were founded on Stannis Baratheon being Azor Ahai, the chosen one of the Lord of Light, and now that he's dead, she's lost everything. Her nakedness is a moment of honesty and vulnerability and humanity from someone who's now in deep doubt over who she is and what she believes. It'll be amazing to see how she comes out of this, and what it might mean for Jon Snow. So that is episode 1 of season 6 of Game of Thrones. We got a lot of characters brought low, beaten down, disempowered, disillusioned, dead, but there's a strong sense of rising for revenge with Sansa and Dorne and the Lannisters. We've got a lot of women kicking ass, we've got religions playing a part, we've got magic and politics, and everywhere tension is rising. The stage is set, and for the most part, no one knows what's coming next. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to see a breakdown like this for every episode of Season 6, please let us know by liking, sharing, subscribing, and commenting what you want to see next. You might like to check out our videos on Thoros of Myr, a red priest like Mel who also has a crisis of faith, and on Jon's resurrection, and on Arya's character arc. Thanks to all supporters on Patreon, including Christopher Brinzer, Evan Windsor, Connor Blank, Yenyo Powell, Faye Harrison, Jessica O'Keefe, John Crane Welsby, Richard Thomas Carlson, Colin Van Osten, Jennifer Grasso, and Keck7Go. Thanks again, see you next time.